This video's going to look at the Bachmann 9F and the Hornby 9F. The Bachmann 9F is the 32853. This one is a standard class 9F, number 92044, which is late crest weathered black. And the one Hornby I'm going to compare it with is the R2880, which is the Railroad range 9F. They're both DCC ready locomotives, and they aren't sold or marketed as equivalents. One is a detailed model and the other is obviously the Railroad range, and Hornby do a more detailed version of the 9F. We're going to compare these two. Straight away, before we take them out of the box, you can see the difference. I mean, we have to accept that one is a weathered locomotive and it's going to look different, but the Bachmann is a much more highly detailed model. But what are the differences? We'll have a look at. You will have seen, possibly in an earlier video of mine, the 9F running the Hornby Railroad, which for its price is a very good little locomotive and has got plenty of pulling power. Okay, now weight-wise, they're both quite weighty locomotives. Modern locomotives do tend to have plenty of weight about them, so they get good traction, and both of them have got a nice bit of clear space between the loco boiler and the running wheels and frame. If we look at the Hornby one then, well, we can see that there are separately applied handrails to the smoke box, to the smoke deflectors. There is a separately applied handrail along the side, but most of the other fine detail is actually moulded in. So that detail's moulded in. There's a reasonable representation of the coupling rods and the valve gear here. And then we've got the front pony truck there. No drain cocks or anything on that. And some representation here of some pipe work underneath the cab. Inside the cab, a fairly simply modelled cab, not too much detail in there, fairly low relief representation of interior cab detail. Now, if we pick up the Bachmann model, or even if we just zoom in on it sitting still, let's zoom in on the Hornby, and maybe if we get it focus on the cylinder and that gear in front of the cylinder, and then swivel up to the Bachmann model, you can see quite a bit of difference in the detail there. So much finer representation of that valve gear. There's additional detail around here, much better representation of whatever part this is, with moving parts. It's just a fixed, sorry, the light's the wrong angle there, it's reflecting. There you are. But there are no real moving parts on that one, it's just a moulded part. And we can see now on the Hornby the pipework here. If we look up to the Bachmann one, all that beautifully applied extra pipework in front of the cab area here. If I pick it up and it focuses, although there isn't a lot of separately applied detail inside there, you can see that some gauges are represented, and there's a little bit more representation of the control levers that the driver would have used. Sorry, it's not focusing very rapidly on this camera. Similarly on the other side, as we turn it over, what you can see there is much more detail on the Bachmann model around that side. If I put it down, it would be easier for you to see, because it should focus and not be moving about so much. Let's have a look. Zoom into that. Yes, look at the pipework there. Look at that detail. at least there's some representation of it. And this is, you know, some separately applied material there. That part's moulded on up there. So, you know, when it's running around the track, it will look the part. And again, the major difference in that running gear in terms of what's represented on the Bachmann model, and when I tilt it up so it doesn't reflect what's represented on the Hornby model. To some extent we are comparing different models aimed at different markets. So if you want what I've said before when I first reviewed the 9F, a really good runner for a good price, you can't beat the Hornby Railroad, and once it's chugging around the track it looks the part. It's got the right sort of proportions, and most importantly that sort of gap underneath the main boiler. But if you really want a model with fine detail, then I'm very impressed with this Bachmann model.